recording.
Sharita,
Okay, Lily, I'm
do you want to spotlight her?
Let's see. Hold on one second.
Up into the shade.
There we go. Lily, okay. Your bandwidth is low.
Yeah, I know. We're out at the farm.
Okay.
That's part of it, huh?
Yeah, living out of the farm. All right, this is Pistol. And I've already got her saddled up.
Okay.
But she will be helping me with our presentation. Okay. Give me a second. I need to consult with electronics for what.
Well, that is okay. I would just do if
okay, that's a good idea.
Oh. I'm sorry.
All right.
Go ahead.
We have at least the page. All right.
Uh-oh.
There.
Oh, I hope we can.
That'll work. Come here, baby.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Now,
move the tripod just a little bit further up. We're getting sun. No, up this way because we're getting sun. All right.
Okay, cool. Lily. While you're doing that, let me do a little bit of an introduction for you.
Sure,
okay?
sure. Go ahead.
Okay, before we get moving, Lily is with TNT Equestrian Outreach, and they're a foundation. They're building an absolutely phenomenal arena, and they have just all kinds of programs that they're starting out in out in Dardanelle. Some of the programs that TNT is looking to start is they're going to develop a nutrition plan for horses, plan and maintenance, sustainable stabling and pasturage for horses. They're going to be teaching that. They're going to be teaching the care for them to maintain equestrian equipment. They're also going to have riding lessons and just so much more. And I'm really looking forward to it because Lily is one of our collaboratives here in Arkansas. But Lily, besides what she's doing with TNT, she is a renowned farrier, which is a horseshoer for anyone that may be wondering what that is. And she's one of the few. There are only about 3,000 female farriers in the United States out of almost 30,000. And so we have a real rock star on with us today. She is just, she's known throughout Arkansas, and I'm sure, Lily, you're known further out. But I'm just going by what I know of you here. So without further ado, I'm going to let you tell us who you are, what you're doing today, and tell us who you're riding.
Okay. Thank you, Sharita, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. I started riding 40 years ago. I'm a military brat. We were stationed in Germany. I annoyed my parents into taking me to the nearest barn. They had no idea what they were doing. They took me to a competitive dressage barn. They had no clue what they signed up for. Pity them. And so I got put on this great big 17-hand warm blood with a slick English saddle, no stirrups, no reins. And when I could do walk, trot, counter with my arms out like this, then I got stirrups and reins. I fell off a lot, but it was very useful. And I rode dressage up until I was 18, and I had to pay my own bills. And oh my gosh, those white pants are expensive. If you've been watching the Olympics this last week, it's the dancing horses with the top hats and the tails and the white jodhpurs and all that. So graduated from high school, went to college for pharmacy, realized they don't let horses in pharmacy, so I wasn't happy. I worked in pharmacy until 2005. And then I put myself through horseshoeing school. There's two kinds of horseshoers. Horseshoers who get into working metal and horseshoers who are about the horse. I can't work metal very well at all. It's functional, but it's not pretty. It does what I want it to do. I am about the horse. I've taught equine anatomy, physiology, and biomechanics at a collegiate level for quite some time, but I love pathological horseshoeing. I love corrective horseshoeing. As I said, my metal work, it's got dings and dents and it's not pretty, but it does what I need it to do. I like working with horses that have had issues. And whoever said healthy as a horse never knew any. Horses are not healthy. They are delicate. There's a running joke in the horse world. You know, your horse hurts itself, so you wrap everything in bubble wrap. Then you find out how much intestinal obstruction surgery costs from eating bubble wrap. They will colic at the drop of a hat. Colic. Horses' digestive system moves one way usually. They don't burp, they don't vomit. So when it gets impacted, it can kill them. And they colic over apparently anything because they don't feel good the wind changed direction. So colic is something we have to watch out for on a continuous basis. And thanks, Pistol. Founder is the other big bugaboo. Now, horses have a variety of ways to hurt themselves, but those are just the two statistically biggest ones. But this is my friend Pistol. She is a 22-year-old Western pleasure mare, and she is helping me out today. She's a very, very good horse. She's one of my lesson horses. And she's welcoming the opportunity to stand here in the shade because she's been out in the arena working. And she really is one of my favorite people.
Lily, if I
Yes?
could just interrupt for 1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
You had such a passion for horses since you were a kid. I mean, you falling off, for someone that didn't have a passion for horses, that didn't want to be there, that just would have been enough for them. But you were determined.
It often is.
And even, yeah, and you even told me about when you were a kid, you wanted to work. I mean, you worked in the stables to be able to do the things you wanted to do as far as horseback riding, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. Horses are expensive. Oh my heavens, horses are expensive. So those of us who were not gifted with billionaire parents have to get pretty creative in figuring out how to make that happen. And I used to ride other young ladies' horses, you know, girls whose parents had more money than mine. They bought them horses. They wanted to show, they wanted to win ribbons, but their parents also had them in ballet, violin, piano, you know, this activity, that activity. A horse is not going to win at a show if it's not ridden regularly. If it's an athletic competition, they have to be kept in shape. So these young women would pay me to ride their horses for them to keep them in shape. And I also did show grooming, you know, all the complicated braids and clipping and all that. So yeah, I worked quite a bit I used to work 14 hours for the barn to get one lesson from the instructor at the barn. It was mucking stalls, combing, organizing tack, cleaning saddles. I have cleaned more saddles than I can begin to remember. I mean, but it was worth it. It was worth it to me to do it. And what I really want to do is, I don't mind asking a kid to put in some effort, but I would like to make it to where kids who were more like me, who really, they've got the drive, they've got the will, they've got the talents, they just don't have the funds, can be lucky enough to get the opportunity to ride some quality horses, to go to shows, to, you know, have the equipment and the clothes and everything that they need to succeed. Because there really is nothing quite like horse showing. I mean, you think you're good, you think you're doing good in riding, and then you go to a horse show and then you find out. Then you find out who you really are. And some days it's luck of the draw. Today I do a lot of reining working cow work for my showing. And that's kind of a roll of the dice. You can be on your game, your horse can be on his A game, and you get the bad cow. And because you got the fast, mean cow that day, you lose. So there's an element of gambling to it, sort of. It's like, okay, who am I going to get? Am I going to get sweetie cow that's easy to turn and easy to work? Or am I going to get the cow that's like, no, I think I'm going to go through the wall. But once you get into that show community, it really is like a town. I mean, you see the same people at the same shows, and we cheer each other on. It teaches good sportsmanship, because you win some, you lose some. It is what it is. You have to learn to win graciously and lose graciously. And those are very separate skills. Like when you win, you can't walk around going, yeah, I beat all y'all. Because give it a minute, next weekend, you're going to be on your face in the dirt. And everyone that you got big at, I'm better than you, is going to be like, you're down in the dirt. So you have to learn when you win, it's the horse's fault that you won, honestly. If you lose, it's your fault. It's not the horse's fault, it's your fault. If you win, it's usually because your horse had mercy on you. So.
May I ask a question?
Sure,
Lilly?
go ahead.
So I am a native of Houston, Texas, and grew up on rodeos. So can you talk about, and generally we will have kids on this call or who will watch later who are from Houston or Dallas and, who know about rodeo. So can you talk about all the things that you just said? Can you talk about that in the context of rodeo? Are you participating in rodeos, for example? Or
yes.
Let's talk about
Reining working cow is part of rodeo. A rodeo will often have multiple disciplines there at the rodeo. You'll have barrel racing, you'll have roping, team roping, penning, cutting, sorting, working cow, trail obstacle, pole bending, speed events in general, pole bending, barrel racing, speed, which is just where you run down the arena, run around a flag, and run out as fast as you can. It's race, timed race. And what I'm saying is true of all of those. I mean, that's a lot of what we do around here is here in Arkansas, we're not big enough to have like specific devoted breed shows. Yes, there's grass down there, baby. We don't have enough of a populace to just have like, okay, we're only doing roping or we're only doing barrel racing. So rodeos are basically like big horse shows. And so, but this is true of all of them. In team roping, if your teammate messes up, you lose. You could have had the best run of your career, but your teammate missed their rope. And so you lose. You get to make friends. You get a lot of important life lessons. You learn how to work because there is a level in horseback riding, which I love. It doesn't matter how much money you have. I mean, you could have spent $40,000 on a horse and you can spend $10,000 on a saddle without even trying. But if you didn't put in the time, practicing, doing, learning, being taught, learning to accept criticism, you're not going to get anywhere. But I love rodeos. We go to them on the weekends a lot around here. And it's just a bunch of fun. Get there at about 4:00 in the afternoon. And I have left at 3 in the morning before because that's how long it took for all the barrel racing overflow to get done.
Okay.
So does that help that question a bit? Is that what you were looking for?
Most definitely. I always try to put everything in context as much as possible with, our cultural awareness.
Sure.
And so, yeah, when you're talking to people in Houston, for sure, Texans in general, horses and rodeo are like, they're inseparable. Obviously, they're inseparable, but it's the first thing that would generally come to mind, as opposed to perhaps, dressage
or jumping, eventing. Yeah. What's funny is I was born in San Antonio. I was born at Brooks Army Medical Center in San Antonio. I just don't remember it. I mean, my parents were military, so Air Force to be precise. So, but no, I completely understand that. After I was 18, after I had to pay my own bills, I started riding Western, thinking that would be more affordable. Then I found out I was wrong. Western tech and Western horses, it's just as much investment. It just looks different. The aesthetic's very different. But I've grown to love Western. I've grown to love Western riding. Western riding comes out of Spanish riding. a Western saddle is the modification of a Spanish horse saddle from the Renaissance era. And I learned vaquero riding. Vaquero is cowboy in Spanish. And the California vaqueros, Idaho Basin, Nevada, Texas, all have different regional styles. I learned from from somebody in the California tradition. But Idaho tradition gets woolly chaps. I'm really fond of that in winter. I just love learning everything about it. But that history goes back to the 1700s. And the Spanish horsemen that developed the Western riding traditions were incredible horsemen. I mean, they were just fantastic. And they had these beautiful, beautiful horses that have a lot of Spanish blood in them. The quarter horse has a lot of Spanish blood in them. North African barb, Andalusian, and they just crafted a stock working horse over the years. A horse that could break and turn after cows quickly. They could be comfortable to ride all day on a ranch, going and checking fence, because if you have a cattle ranch, you check fence forever. Calm-minded horse that had cow sense. And so that's what I mostly ride today, is Western style disciplines, ranch versatility. I like my horses to do it all. I like to be able to throw a rope off of them. I like to be able to cut a cow. I like to be able to work a herd of cattle. It's a lot of fun for me. So yeah, that's actually a lot of what we do today.
Okay.
Hey, Lily.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, if I can take just 1 minute, I want to show my screen. And you were just talking about all that different kind of horses. And so I just found something, and I want to be able to just show that real quick so that those was for those that will see this later also. So I'm just showing, it says the 11 different horseback riding styles. So I just wanted to be able to get this on the recording so people can go and see this later, our youth. So we've got, I guess you call it dressage. And,
yes, dressage is what I started as. Yep.
So that's one. And then the next one is eventing that's showing. And it's a competition that includes dressage, cross-country riding, and stadium jumping. And then the next one that I'm showing is show jumping. And for any of you that want to go and see this, I'm just scrolling right now. It's at iHeartHorses.com, 11 samples of riding styles. And then the next one, Lily, I think is the Western that you said you prefer.
That's Western pleasure.
That's
Western pleasure. I mean, there's as many Western riding styles as there are English riding styles.
Okay.
And that's Western pleasure, which is supposed to be like a good trail horse to go and go. That's the idea. Reining is a finished bridle horse. Like you can do the dressage type stuff. Reining is basically like, you can think of it like Western dressage. That's not, I mean, they're two different disciplines, but they want the same thing. They want these beautiful moves and turns and athletic ability from the horse.
Okay.
Both dressage and reining. Just very different histories. And cutting is very exciting. Cutting, you have assigned a cow, and you have to try to cut that cow away from the rest of the cow herd and make the cow go where you want to. Cows are legendary for not wanting to do that. They don't like being herded. And so you see how in the screen, I'm looking at it, the horse looks like he's dancing with the cow. Well, he's trying to prevent that cow from going back to the herd. But that horse is locked onto that cow. Once that horse is locked onto the cow, you're not in charge anymore. Your job is to hang on and stay on, because the horse is responding to the cow.
Okay.
And I have been tossed by some cutting horses. I have been thrown by some cutting horses. And the cutting horse looks down at me like, you had one job. Really? You were just supposed to stay on. That was my one job.
And I mean, look at that horse. He's in position. Look at his legs. I mean.
Well, Lily, this is Felix Vega. I have a question for you, because one of the things that I'm hearing you say is that if you love horses and you love riding, you've just talked about like 4, 5, 6 different styles that are really different. And so what I'm hearing you say for young people is if you like horses and you want to get into horse culture, you know, there is not just one choice. You can choose to do Western, you can do Eastern, dressage. Sounds like there's a lot of variability depending on what you like, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very much so.
And well, the second part of that is it also sounds like you're not stuck in one thing. It sounds like you've done a little bit of everything, right? Which makes the sport, I think, even more fun for a young person, where if you start in jumping and you figure you don't like it as much, there are other things that you could do that still involve a horse.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the great things about horsemanship, in my opinion, is that the fundamentals don't change. If you learn to ride correctly and well, basic riding, your ankle is under your hip, is under your shoulder, is under your head. It doesn't matter if you're an English saddle, a Western saddle, it doesn't matter. That is the fundamentals of riding. You put your ankle under your hip, under your shoulder, under your head. You have soft contact with the mouth. You learn to not balance on your reins. Please don't balance on your reins. Those reins are hooked to a piece of metal in a horse's mouth. They don't deserve being yanked on. But you learn to ride properly and keep yourself centered on the horse, and you learn the balance skills, and you can explore all these different things. It becomes, okay, I decided I don't like jumping. I'd like to go try reining. I decided I don't like reining. I want to try Western trail obstacle. You can change if you learn those fundamentals. If you take the horse away, you ought to still be standing up. That's why they call it a saddle, not a chair. Okay. If you took the horse away, you still should be standing. My vet has come to actually join me today. I told her that I was doing this, and she wanted to. Oh, and she's trying to duck out now. She's like, no, don't tell him I'm here. My veterinarian is one of my dearest friends. We raised our daughters together. She breeds Arabians. And as I said, I told her I was doing this morning, and she stopped by. So I might talk her into the camera here in a minute. But no, that's the fun thing about riding is that once you learn those fundamental basics, once you learn how to be balanced and how reins work, how I put her bridle on, how this bit in her mouth works, then all of a sudden you can explore anything. Now, you pick something, you take the time to refine it. That takes time, but the core fundamentals don't change. They just don't. There's a running joke in horse training, teaching people to ride horses, that new riders' legs hurt. Why? Because they're squeezing with their legs to try to stay on. They're trying to balance on their knees, and they're just squeezing with their legs, try to stay on. As your balance grows, as your core muscles develop, experienced equestrians, the abdominals hurt, because in sitting a trot, you're using your abdominals as your shock absorber. Canter, abdominals, everything is this core balancing. 20 minutes on a horse provides over 3,000 postural challenges to the rider. So you learn to quit trying to hang on with your legs. You just let your legs hang and you relax them, and you're balancing. Your center of gravity and the horse's center of gravity are pretty much in alignment if you're riding correctly. And as you push that, it's like if I want the horse to go forward, I push the center of gravity. If I want the horse to stop, I get in front of their center of gravity. That doesn't change no matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what style you're riding. Now, if you're trying to jump, you have to learn to move with the jump. If you're trying to cut, you better learn to sit deep and hang on as that horse is doing this and spinning and, working that cow. But those are details. Those are details that people spend a lifetime refining, but they're details. I have a video somewhere of a dressage champion in their English tack and a reining champion in their Western tack. and they're coming in and they're doing their different dance moves. And in the middle of the routine, they switch horses. The reining rider gets on the dressage horse and the dressage rider gets on the reining horse. And they can still do everything, even though they're in these, one's English, one's Western. And it was to prove that the fundamentals of good horsemanship don't change, no matter what your saddle looks like. Does that make sense?
Can you just talk a little bit? Yes, it does. It for me. If anybody has questions, for sure, be sure to jump in. But I'm just wanting you to talk a little bit, even more basically, about Western versus English saddles. Some people, particularly coming up in the Southwest, they might not even really understand what an English saddle is versus a Western.
I don't know if I have one here. I don't know if I brought one of my English saddles, but okay, hang on. I'll be right back. Stay.
Okay.
Well, and you know, for the kids that are on the call, if we pay attention to what Lilly has just taught us, remember way back when, oh, wow.
That's a Western saddle.
Okay.
How much does that weigh, Lilly?
A lot. A whole lot. It's not light. It feels like about 60 pounds.
Wow.
Lilly, how does a horse feel with that much weight on it, with a saddle of that size? How does the horse feel?
That's like an external frame backpack, and that is a very heavy old saddle. A lot of saddles are in the 25, 30 pound range. But here, I'm gonna see if I can turn Miss Pistol here. Come on, baby. You can see it's on. This is the Tucker Endurance saddle on her. This is made to go for 100 miles. It's the kind of thing you'd ride the Tevis Cup in. This one's about 25 pounds. It's made to be light. That other one is a roping saddle. The one I picked up first, it's not meant to be worn for very long. It's meant to be worn for roping competition. It's so heavy, so you can anchor a cow to it, and it's not going to go anywhere. This one's made to go for 100 miles or better. And so it's got the Western horn mare. Yes, I know the grain bucket's over there. I know. Stop. She's like, the feed's right there. But but you can see this has the horn to rope a cow to tie a cow off to, and to hang on to. I'm just saying. Big stirrups with thick leather, wide leather for the stirrup fenders, what these are called. Big saddle skirt. And this type of saddle spreads the weight out way over the horse's back. I mean, it's got ridges in it. Here, let me get the other one. You can see the spine relief.
Oh.
See, it does not touch their spine.
Okay.
It's meant to it distributes the weight onto the backstrap muscles on either side of the spine.
Okay.
And so it's way more comfortable than riding bareback for them and for us for long periods of time, because it distributes the weight evenly. Now, as I said, that big heavy one, that's meant to be worn for like 15 minutes, half an hour to go to a competition in. You get one roping run, you're done. This is meant to be worn forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It's a lot lighter. It's also a lot comfier. The seat's padded. I'm fond of this. The other one's seat's not padded. But so in an English saddle would be, this is gone. Yes, the grain's there. Stop. This is gone. This is a lot smaller. I mean, an English saddle's like, cut the whole front and back of this off for the seat part. And then it's got a much smaller flap here, a much smaller saddle skirt. And the stirrup is a leather strap like that wide. And the stirrup just dangles from it, and they swing really easy. English saddles were made to jump in. They developed to go fox hunting in. You have to get up out of the saddle. Good luck getting up out of this saddle. Good luck coming up with the jump out of this saddle. You will fail spectacularly. Trust me. I've tried this. Learn from my fail. This is not a jumping saddle. You will hurt yourself. Back it up, baby. Back. So English saddles are made to be easy to maneuver in, easy to move your body around in, easy to jump hedges, steeplechasing, which I think is an insane discipline. I've never done it. Steeplechasing is like race jumping. Those people are nuts. And when I say people are nuts, they're nuts. But that's what an English saddle is made for. A Western saddle is made for doing ranch work in. Now, what's interesting is that I do medieval riding as well. I do jousting, mounted combat melee, mounted archery. Jousting saddles look a lot more like this one. Even British jousting saddles, the examples that we have in museums. Jousting saddles take the horn away, take this projection away. Come here, baby. Take this part off, just cut this off. And a jousting saddle pretty much looks like this one. So go figure. That's why I say the Western saddle developed from war saddles. The English saddle is,
so Lily,
yes? Yeah.
The jousting, and because that's not there, is that because of that long thing that you're jousting with and that would get in the way, or?
No, this is just a
Why
later
is that?
development. This is something that was, the horn was added later to do ranch work with specifically. They took an old Renaissance war saddle and they added this as a aid to ranch work in the 1800s. But yeah, actual full-on war saddles, they just don't have this. They don't have this horn bit, but they have all of this heavy pommel, the high back. Yeah, you see all of it.
Well, since I interrupted you, I want to continue with one other thing. I didn't introduce you to Dr. Monique Wales, who is my counterpart with YVI. She's actually out of Paris, France. So she's 9 hours ahead of us. And
bonjour.
So Monique, say hello. You've been talking to her, but I didn't introduce you to her.
Sure.
So.
Pleased to meet you, Lily. Pleased to meet you. We're 7 hours ahead of we're 7 hours ahead of Texas and 9 hours ahead of California.
Okay. I'm in Arkansas, so we're in the same time zone as Texas. But
yeah. And then I just wanted to ask Tori. Tori, did I see that you had a question? I thought I saw your hand, but I didn't. I just wanted to make sure. Tori, did you have a question? No? Okay. All righty. Go ahead, Lily.
Okay. So
and I interrupted you and
but
probably messed up your paragraph.
Yeah, my train of thought wrecked. It's okay. I'm used to it. Yeah, major crash. No, but what also doesn't change is what it takes to take care of them. It doesn't matter whether you're Western, English, they're equus caballus. They're horses. They have to eat 3% of their ideal body weight per day in food. So if the ideal body weight for this horse is 1,000 pounds, she has to eat 30 pounds of food a day. 70 to 80% of that needs to be long stem roughage hay, basically. So at least 27 pounds of hay, and then the remainder in grain. And that's just a rough average. I've got a nursing mare right now. She gave birth on May 9th, and she needs 10 pounds of grain per day, plus all the hay she can stuff into her mouth, because she's nursing. She's got a baby who's taking all of her body fat out of her. She got skinny on me there for a minute, kind of scared me. And then she got $30 a bag feed because I'm bad that way. But she needed it, so she got it. But that's Lily, just a rough estimate. Yes?
Lily, Tori has a question now. Her hand is up. Tori, can you come off mute and ask your question? We can't hear you.
I can't hear.
I just asked her maybe to pop up. There we go.
Go ahead, Tori. We can't hear her. Can you type your question into the chat?
I'm asking her to unmute. Maybe it should pop up on her screen.
Really?
We can't hear her.
And
She keeps going on and off mute. I think her microphone is not working.
Okay.
Can you type your question into the chat, Tori?
Okay.
And while we're speaking of chat, if anyone would like to see those different writing styles, I put the link in chat. Now, while we're waiting on Tori,
Sure.
Lily, there was one of those styles and it said what did it say?
Gymkhana.
What is that?
It's pronounced gymkhana. Games.
Okay.
They come up with different games for you to do with your horse, like catching rings as you go by.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Okay.
You know, there's just different things you can do. Fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Ah.
Okay, from Tori, I saw it for a
Tori.
second. Can somebody tell me what it was? She typed it in for a second, but now I can't see it.
Can the different types of food that horses eat affect their performance? Great question.
Oh, absolutely. That is a great question. Okay, so they have to have that long stem hay. They just have to. But it has to be good quality hay. It has to have high nutritional value. Really? Are you getting bored? Are you getting bored? Sorry. Mare. It has to have high nutritional value. It can't be moldy. It can't be dusty. You can give a horse hay. And so yes, your hay has to be high quality, good hay. They usually have to get a mineral supplement. Like around here in Arkansas, our ground is depleted of selenium and copper. We know it is. So we have to make sure to supplement that. So they have tubs of supplementary minerals. And then different feeds have different fat versus sugar contents. Horses don't need sugar. Please never feed them corn ever for any. I mean, I have chewed on a horse treat because of course I have. And to me, it tastes like sawdust. I mean, sawdust. And the horse is acting like it's the most awesome Snickers bar. And I'm like, okay, if I'm tasting sawdust and you're tasting Snickers bar, then you don't need the level of sugar of what I think of as sweet. I mean, carrots are high sugar, corn's high sugar, apples are high sugar. They get insulin resistance very easily. It's really kind of upsetting.
And I see
What's that?
feeding that to their horses all the time.
Yes, I know.
I always see people giving carrots and apples to horses.
Yes, I know. Trust me, I know. As a farrier, I can tell when you put too much sugar in your horse's diet because their feet just die. Their feet just splat. Sugar is a major cause of founder. I mean, they get too much sugar, they get too much grain, they got into the grain bin. The bone sits inside the hoof like, well, quit. Like this, she's getting impatient. The bone sits like this. In founder, the laminae that hold the bone to the hoof stretch out, and the bone moves like this.
Wow. Wow. Well, Lily, you know what? I mean, we always run over. The show is supposed to be a half an hour, but we always run over. We obviously need to have you on for a part 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, I'd love to. I can do this all day. I can literally stand here and do this all day.
Yes, and you're such a good presenter that we would like to have you on again. And maybe one show is totally dedicated to just the horseshoeing and the way you were going into the bone structure and all of that.
Sure.
And then another one, I know that I'd love to hear your medieval stuff. So
yeah,
we're going to have you back.
I'll costume. But I'd love to. That would be great. That'd be lovely. No, real quick, just finish what I was saying. Sugar causes that. Sugar causes that stretching and the bone to move inside the foot and founder, and that's how horses get hurt. So yes, I'm on about diets. And yes, to finish up Tori's question, the kind of food they're eating absolutely influences their performance, their muscle building ability, and in fact, their ability to continue living. So yeah, it's really important.
That was a great question, Tori. Really great question.
Yeah, thanks.
And Lily, but I could tell that she's been a beautiful horse, but she is getting a little fussy.
She's
Are
like,
there any
why am
other
I standing there?
questions?
It's grass is right there, people. Give me the halter back, please. Okay, any
Tori
other
says
questions?
thank you.
If I put her halter back on, I can let her graze.
Yeah, well, Lily, we really appreciate you being on. I just love you dearly. And
It's my
I know
pleasure.
we'll have more questions for you. I cannot wait to get you scheduled again. And if there are no other questions, and even from my counterpart, Monique, Monique, you have anything, or Dr. Vega? And Danielle Corbin, who is on, she teaches 6th grade out of Houston.
She's
And
out of the
Hey, Danielle.
Bronx.
I mean, Bronx, I'm sorry. I keep wanting to make her in Monique's. First, I was putting you in Brooklyn, Dr. Corbin. I was putting you in Brooklyn, and then she corrected me, and now I'm making you
Okay,
move
Mare.
to Texas.
You
Go
guys keep bringing
graze.
me closer and closer
Go
to
on.
you. And now I'm on the road in Georgia, so I had myself on mute. But thank you for sharing all the information about the horses. I'm not too familiar
pleasure.
with riding horses, but now I'm curious.
All right.
She's not going to go anywhere, so I just put her halter on her and let her go. I can't let her go with a metal piece in her mouth, so I took that out, and now she's wandering around looking for grass. So let her go. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so
Thank
so
you,
much.
Lily.
It's
Yeah.
my pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Can't wait to have you
thank
back.
you so much.
And
Looking forward to it.
I'm definitely looking forward to the talk about foundering. Foundering, it's a word. We need to remember that our kids probably don't know what these words mean. So we have to explain, things just very basically. The foundering is that movement of the bone down from the way it's
Yes.
supposed to be into the bottom of the foot, and that hurts. And that's
Oh, man.
and that's why what Lily does as a horse shoer, as a farrier, it's one of the reasons why what she does is so important. So yes, we will have you back as soon as possible. And Danielle, I hope that you will share this with your students, because I don't know how many people are riding or even thinking about horses in the Bronx, but this is, it's, I don't know, but it's just the whole purpose of YVI is to open up all kinds of avenues to all people all over everywhere, so that if you never thought about this before because of where you live, now you can do this. I know there are horses in New York, they're all over.
Carriage
You
horses.
just probably, yeah, but you haven't thought about them perhaps in this way. So now, look at your horse, the horse that walks, that the police officer walking down the street, or however you're in contact with them, you can see them a little bit differently now, and maybe just be a little bit more curious and want to do something with them. Doesn't matter where you're living in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you, Monique, for that. I know in Los Angeles, most people didn't know that I had a quarter horse for 5 years right there in the middle of Los Angeles. And there were stables right there in Compton. But most people don't know. And so once we can start exposing youth to the thought of it, that this can be a possibility no matter where they are. And that's why this program is so exciting. And Lily, again, we thank you. And you guys, I need to get, this is off subject, but I need to get, what's her name? Our young girl that I wanted to get the books to. Bailey, but I don't have her direct email. So looking at the emails, I couldn't tell who I should email to. So Monique, you might know, so that I can make sure and get information for Bailey to send the books to her.
Yeah.
Lily, I'm talking about a young girl. I'm surprised she's not on. She had not missed a show. And so we're gifting her some books because she's never missed a YVI show. There must be something going on today for her to miss.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah, because of YVI, she started volunteering at a animal shelter.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a lesson coming, so I'm going to have to bid y'all a farewell for now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lily.
And thank you to everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Tori,
You
just
too.
a sec. Bye, Lily. Tori, can you just tell us where you're writing from? Where you're calling
Bye,
in from?
Lily, thank you.
Write it into the chat. Bye, Lily. Thank you.
Did Tori write it in? Tori is one of my students from the Bronx. Her question was awesome.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Good.
Between Houston and the Bronx, we are rocking YVI.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Happy dance. Happy dance.
Great
My
weekend.
happy dance. Bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye.